I'm always thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, am I getting sucked in here? But that's pretty compelling geophysical evidence that you've given for, potentially a copper gold discovery. So,
yeah, we wouldn't drill it without having, de-risked it by doing the geology right. Then you've got that really big one on the southernmost line at depth. That really has got to be the prize. That's where there could be something really serious down there.
This is general advice and my opinions only. This episode's company has paid me for this interview. I may be long, short, or hold an interest in stocks or CFDs mentioned. Past performance isn't reliable. The interviewee's views are their own, not necessarily mine. LEVRD operates as a corporate authorised representative 00131 8377 under AFSL 548573. You can find our financial services guide via the LEVRD website, link in the show notes.
God, the market's closed today, I'll tell you what. But the show goes on and we're heading into small cap territory again. Tarrina Resources, TR8. Here's the chart here. Did a public offering back in end of November last year to get back up and going on the market. 7.3 mil market cap. And I've got the CEO, Greg Partington, on this market close day. Welcome to LEVRD, Greg.
How are you going?
Good
to be on here.
God, ask me tomorrow once all the stocks go down. You never know, there might be a miracle tonight, mate. Mate, Tarrina, so when I first looked at this, it was looking like a New South Wales gold story, but it appears by your latest announcement with your IP work at Walparuta in South Australia, this is possibly could be more of an IOCG copper story in South Australia. How is, I think as you explained before, you had sort of two assets competing against each other in a way.
Yes, correct. Which is a good thing from an exploration point of view. You certainly want to have a portfolio, not have all your eggs in one basket. So we're definitely set up like that.
Mate, you've been around the traps a while. You're, as you said, a bit of the whole AI buzzword at the moment with geology sort of been in your wheelhouse for a few decades by the sounds. It wasn't called AI, was it? It was machine learning.
No, so it's machine learning, and all you're doing, in my view, because if you think about it, we're doing exploration, and the reason it's called exploration is because we don't know anything. We don't have the data, which means AI can't learn anything. But what it can do is it can pull things together and teach you things that you might have missed. So the machine learning bit isn't about the machine learning. It's us learning from what the information the machine gives us, which is how it's always worked for us.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get into these projects, mate, you've put a few projects into companies before. Probably your best one on the CV's Bullabulling, the MI6 asset. Is that your flagship on your CV if you're looking for a job?
Not really. It's one of them. I'm consistent. Whenever we see interesting geological opportunities that people haven't recognized, that's what we're after. And Christmas Gift and Walparuta are definitely those.
Yeah, okay. Let's start on Walparuta. So I was going to start on Christmas Gift, but as you said, based on the moment, and especially on the back of the Havilah recent deal that Havilah's done with Hillgrove and also the Havilah Samphire deal, and looking on the map here, Walparuta's in pretty close proximity to both those projects, and hasn't really been, not saying this is going to be an Olympic dam, but these IOCGs aren't the easiest things to define. Take us through this project, why it's sparked your interest in the IOCG world.
Yeah, so as you say, it's sort of interesting that the Curnamona has always been somewhere where big companies have thought about looking for IOCGs. And the Havilah Resources projects, the Kalkaroo one is probably the one that's most similar to Walparuta, but they believe it's sedimentary copper style. But having said that, there's always a relationship between IOCG and sedimentary copper. So Coda are probably the best example of that, where they've got a deep IOCG with a sedimentary copper sitting over the top. So, and basically the copper gold systems with similar metals in them. And that's what we see at Walparuta. So we may well have the IOCG part and Havilah have got the sedimentary copper part.
Yeah. Okay. So what's there at the moment? So I got to look like there's some historical drilling. Has Tarrina done any drilling work at all, or it's all just been geophys lately?
So, and this is what got brought out with our machine learning studies at Walparuta, is there is some very good old information. It's back in the 70s. This was collected, but it was collected by a big company, so they collected really good data. And basically, it hasn't been looked at since then, back in the 70s. And what they were able to show was that, yes, there was copper gold there. Back then, the grades that they intersected in the drilling would have been anomalous rather than of economic interest. Whereas with the increases in the copper price and the gold price, the intersections are already getting up towards being of economic significance. And on the slide you've got there's what's described as a magnetite breccia, which is the green thing in the cross section and the blue in the geology map, which is about 700, 800 meters long, which has got copper and gold in it. But it's also got cobalt, uranium, and rare earths. And it was that mixture of metals that's piqued my interest, because that is definitely IOCG indicators. And then when you look at the actual ore minerals, they've got chalcopyrite, pyrite, cobaltite, bornite, uraninite, and monazite. Again, that screams IOCG. And the actual alteration was the kicker for me, in that early albite alteration followed by intense potassium, which is biotite, and then the iron, which in this case is magnetite, but there is hematite around, and then the copper and gold. And what the magnetite does is that you can measure it using geophysics. So we can find where mineralization is by using the geophysics, which is the slide you've just jumped to.
Yeah. So is this a magnetics one I'm looking at, or is this the IP?
No, so this is magnetics.
Yeah.
And the image on the left is the magnetic anomaly. And so you can see so we got detailed magnetics and we've modeled it in 3D. And I've never seen anything quite as good as this. Usually when you do the 3D modeling of magnetics, everything becomes vertical and it blurs everything. Whereas it almost maps the known position of the magnetite breccia, which is the green unit, perfectly. And the red is where the copper is, which it actually maps even better. And what we see is that there's almost a perfect correlation between the copper grades and the magnetic intensity. So the higher the magnetics, the higher the copper. Then if you go down dip from that, which is only about 400 meters down dip and at about a depth of about 70 meters there's a much bigger magnetic anomaly, which is where you would hope there's higher grade copper and gold.
Yeah, so looking at it at the moment, that bottom of it, you got 19.8 meters at 0.29% copper, bit over half a gram gold.
Yeah, correct.
So is the and that looks is that about 250? No, about 150 meters below surface.
Oh, that's more like 70 there.
Oh yeah, so okay. Oh yep, about 70. So and you're saying this darker orange bit, the higher magnetic intensity, and then obviously on the right hand side, this I assume red's good for. Yeah,
so that's gravity. So that's a dense rock, much denser than the rocks around.
Yeah.
Which can be either sulfide or magnetite. And if you look at that magnetic anomaly, you've got another thing peeking out the top towards the surface on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Yep, that. So what that looks to me like as a geologist is that you've got leakages coming out of the main area where the main activity is, and you've got the leakage coming out the side. So what I'm assuming is that most of the metal's been deposited in that big orange area and the red area where the density is, and you've got lower grade mineralization just leaking out towards the surface on the side.
Yeah. Okay. So, and because it was this surveying done using those old drill holes, are they?
Yes. So that
yeah.
So our proof of concept or proof of fertility of the system, i.e., it could just be magnetite, could just be iron. Okay. There doesn't have to be copper and gold in it. It could just be iron, but the drilling is showing that there is copper and gold in it.
That'd really piss you off if that was the case, wouldn't it?
Oh, that's what happens with exploration geology.
Yeah.
So this is actually really unusual. What it means is instead of us having to drill lots and lots of drill holes to find things, we can actually use the geophysics to de-risk the drilling to a point where it's not going to cost us, which for a small cap company, we haven't got a shitload of money, is basically gives us a chance of actually making a new discovery here. And given the size of this system, this has the potential to be a company maker for Tarrina.
Yeah. So, and look, based on your history, and look, as you say, you've been in the world of machine learning, so you've consumed a lot more data than the average Joe would have. And if you do look at this, I guess I want to look at probabilities of success over when you're dealing with stuff like this. You've got copper and gold in, I guess, medium magnetic areas. You've got indication of higher magnetic areas. You say that could just be magnetite and or sulfides with no copper or gold in it. What is how likely is either, if you're going to put a percentage on it?
Well, so that's where the next data set is really important, which is IP. So that's what we've just released to the market. So we know there's iron there because it can only be magnetite given the rocks around the place. So we've done these lines of IP, which is where you pump electricity in the ground. And basically the electric current follows conductors, just like a copper wire. But where you get sulfide, that electricity gets stored in that area where the sulfide is, which is like a battery. And when you turn the electricity off, it comes out. And that's called chargeability. So you can measure where the chargeability is, and you can measure where the conductors is. And what we want to see is where it's chargeable, because that's where sulfide is. So given the rocks in the system that aren't mineralized, we know that all it can be is sulfide if we get chargeability zones. And the IP trial, if you like, because we were just testing it to see if it would work, has worked spectacularly for us. And it's showing us, so it's ticking another box in terms of that fertility question, which is there sulfide there? Because if there's sulfide there, then that's where the copper and gold will be. So the copper is actually associated not just with the red area, but the green area.
Yeah.
So if you like, that's our next big tick, that we're looking at something real there. And that the geometry on that is very similar to what we were looking at, that the two major areas are on the edge of the magnetic anomaly. And you've got those leakages towards the surface still in exactly the same sort of place. So the sulfide is sitting around the system rather than right in it. And that's exactly what you want to see with an IOCG.
But why is that?
Because the iron is an alteration product and it comes in early, then you get the fluid with the copper and gold in it comes through and sulfur, and then deposits it out around where that alteration is, not necessarily exactly where it is.
So is the set, like when the sulfides are around the edge in the guts of it, is that likely to be mineralized, or it's mostly where the sulfides
probably not mineralized. No. So like we were saying, if you just went and drilled the magnetics, you might just find magnetite with nothing in it.
Yeah.
Whereas this is de-risking that by saying, no, you could even see on that section there that you're looking, you could design a hole that went between the two chargeability anomalies, but hit the magnetics, but wouldn't have hit where the sulfide is.
Gotcha. So,
although to be honest, given the density of that, you would have to try very hard to miss it.
yeah. So what's the chances of like going either ways? Like, how reliable is the geophysics in terms of can you actually hit things that don't even show up on the geophysics results by accident? Like, can it go the other way as well? Like, if
absolutely.
You miss stuff targeting the geophysics, but then you're like, oh shit, this area that wasn't even a priority has come back with mineralisation.
With IOCGs, and because of the iron alteration, not so much, but you can get the copper and gold associated with hematite. So that's iron, but it's not magnetic, but it is dense, which is why once we've got all the IP done, that tells us where sulfide is, which when you put it with hematite becomes very dense. So it's a mixture of the combining the magnetics, the chargeability, and the density. So if you've got a target that ticks all the boxes, that's the best place to look.
Yeah, and especially when you haven't got unlimited funds to
that's
start poking holes.
So effectively what we're trying to do is de-risk the drilling to a point that a company our size isn't going to break the bank by doing drilling to test these targets. Yeah,
so what are you in line for like an EIS grant or like part of the BHP Explore thing?
That's definitely possible, but having said that, that takes a while to get those grants, and we want to get moving on this. So
yeah.
If we can make it fit in, we would love to, but I suspect we'll end up drilling it in the time frame the market wants, rather than because the market's seen it, they've reacted positively to it, as you've seen by our share price. And you know what the market's like, they just want us to drill now.
Yeah, so and look on your latest deck, you got 2.7 in the bank. What's the timeline on when this drilling's going to commence? How far is it? How many holes are you going to get out with it?
We still have to get our permissions from the government to drill, which will take a couple of months. So I'm looking at September. So those magnetic anomalies, they continue for another 4 kilometers to the south. So this thing could be huge. And we've only covered the top 700 meters. So while we're getting the drill permissions, we're going to cover the rest of it with IP and some soil sampling. And that's why the market's interested in this, is because of the size of this. You're not talking about small, you're talking about really big, which is just like Kalkaroo. That's got about 1 million tons of copper in it and 3 million ounces of gold.
Yeah, interesting. That if I'm looking on your IP here, where is there like a conceptual idea of where these first holes are going to be heading?
So you can see on that the oblique section, which has got the 3 lines on it.
Yep.
So there's ones near the surface. So we'll want to test those, because obviously you'll be able to get them out and make quite a lot of money out of them and not need such high grades. Then you've got that really big one on the southernmost line at depth.
Yeah, that one I'm hovering on here.
That really has got to be the prize. That's where there could be something really serious down there. In which case, it's going to be a mixture of short and deeper holes. But we don't know what it looks like to the south. It might get even bigger and better. Because The only reason we're on that central line is because there's drilling there. It's not because it's the best one, it's just the one we've got data on. And quite clearly, that southern line is much better than the line that's got the drilling on.
Yeah. So is that how deep's that prize area that you're talking about there?
It's about 140 metres down.
Okay, so it's not even that deep, really.
No, not for South Australia, where most people are drilling these targets underneath 400 metres of cover. No, the copper sticks out of the ground. There's a 700 metres of green rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that going to be RC, or have you got to do diamond to look into the structure?
So we'll certainly the shallower ones we'll probably test with RC.
Yeah.
Although as a geologist, you always want to be able to see the rocks. But obviously the deeper ones we can do RC pre-collars and then just do short, diamond tails after that.
So with IOCG potential like this, how important is the diamond with understanding the structural geology of it?
So we don't quite clearly from the geometry that we're seeing, where we've got a central area where the main thing seems to be happening, and the chargeability's got the same geometry as the magnetics, which again I've never seen. So two completely independent data sets are giving the same answer. We don't know what's causing that geometry. Is it faults? Is it fractures? What is it? Because once you understand that, then you can start mapping it. Then that's what you follow.
Yeah. Interesting, mate. I love this end of the market because far out, as you said, if something gets hit with these holes, it's boom or bust. That's what's so exciting about it.
Effectively, I mean, I presume you know about the Laszlo curve, where you get the biggest bang for your buck as an investor is always on that first discovery, and that's where we're sitting right now. We're on that inflection point. And given we've only got a market cap of 8-9 mil, you look at Havilah and other companies with these big copper gold resources, their market caps are all 200 mil plus.
Yeah. Well, it's becoming a new flavour. That's what I'm not beating the drum, but when money goes from small cap gold into small cap copper, if we get a change in the market, it's a small cap gold shell would be 30 or 40 million at the moment. How'd this asset? How'd you get a hold of this asset? Was it stranded? Nothing happened? Just sitting there doing nothing?
So this came about because of the machine learning work that my company Kenix does, and we were doing some work for the New South Wales government where we mapped all the mineral systems in New South Wales for them. That's up on their website. You can go and collect the data. People are using it to help them explore at the moment. And at the time, they said we've got, just less than half of the Curnamona. We want to model that for IOCGs. And we said, well, that's silly. We should do the whole of the Curnamona because there's no point just doing a little bit, and you need all of the information to tell you where to look. So we convinced them that they should talk with the South Australian government, see if we could get a joint project to this, and we couldn't. It was just too hard. So we said to them, look, okay, we'll compile everything on our risk and pay for it. You get your bit, you pay us for it, and we keep the South Australian stuff for ourselves. And that's what happened. I mean, there was a point where between South Australia and New South Wales, they don't even call the same rocks the same name on either side of the border.
Yeah, right. Well, they do that with beer as well. Pints and
schooners.
But
it's Australia-wide.
It's
It's the great thing about Australia, and it's the annoying thing about Australia. Anyway, so we did the modelling work. So we had a lot of good information from the New South Wales geologists, the experts and IOCGs over there, which was applied to South Australia, and Walparuta shone.
Yeah.
Really stood out. We had a look at it and picked the tenement up. basically, and have been doing the geological work for the last 3 years. So that's why Tarrina now has basically suddenly accelerated this. It almost looks like they've suddenly found something out of 6 months worth of exploration, whereas actually there's been 3 years of hard geological thinking gone in behind it before we've got to this point.
Yeah, cool. So just to confirm, the permitting for like the drill approvals have been submitted. You're just waiting for them to come back.
We're just starting that process now.
Okay. Yeah, rightio. So yeah, and what's that entail? Getting that ready.
Not 100% sure. We'll find out. But if it's like they'll be like other states. It'll take us a couple of months, which is just saying where we're going to drill. I'm not sure about heritage surveys, whether we have to do them for drilling or not in South Australia. I don't think we do, but it's that sort of stuff. So we're due now. I'm saying September.
Yeah.
Which then allows us to do more IP to the south. Now we know it works. We know it's worth doing, and do some soil sampling over the top of those lines so that we then got another check on fertility, that there is copper in that near surface stuff. Obviously the deep ones, the soil sampling is not going to help with, but the soil sampling will certainly help with the shallower ones.
Yeah, right. So if you got a couple of mil in the bank, you're waiting 2 months to start drilling this. I guess where you're most interested at the moment is Christmas Gift, your gold project in the Lachlan Fold Belt in New South Wales. Is that sort of just getting put on ice until this Walparuta drilling starts happening? Yeah,
so we've got, you can see why it was our lead project. Those intersections are pretty significant.
Yeah, 13 metres at 13.2, 8 at 17.23. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, so
at 68 metres too.
Yeah, and that's not changed. That value is still there. And what we've done with the soil sampling and the drilling was to actually just, one, confirm that the historic results could be used in a new JORC resource estimate, because we want to be able to say how much gold we've got there, because we're surrounded by mines.
Yeah.
And there's the potential to toll treat from Christmas Gift. And you don't need a lot of ounces to make a lot of money when you've only got a market cap of $8 or $9 million. So I can clearly see that there's a lot of value still in Christmas Gift. But is it a company maker? Don't know. But Walparuta certainly could be a company maker. So we have to, obviously, as I say, there's a race between the two of them. They're competing for funds. And at the moment, yes, Walparuta is winning that race.
Well, I suppose you can spin these things out, but the hardest thing about that is finding a second person to run the company, unless you're going to run two of them yourself.
Yeah, well, yeah, correct.
Yeah, too easy, mate. Well, that's exciting. I think we've established it's speculative, but high risk, high reward. Chasing.
Yeah, so just keep going to Yongala, because
I
have to say something about this one, because I'm feeling a bit sad about poor old Yongala, because it's
the red-headed stepchild or something of the portfolio.
Well, yeah, it's the one that's furthest back in the pecking order. So it's real grassroots exploration, but it's sedimentary copper. And we did the same sort of AI type work for targeting. Went out in the field, and if you can see that photograph there, that's a copper vein that's had no workings on it. All that is because it's eroded away, because the sulfide in the vein is killing the vegetation. And there's copper sticking out of the ground over a kilometre there. It hasn't got a historic rock chip, or a soil sample on it. We've taken some assays out of there. We've got high-grade copper, and if we couldn't get high-grade copper out of that, I was going to sack the geologist, because it's green. But it's also got 2 ounces of silver in it, which is screaming sedimentary copper to me.
Yeah.
So poor old Yongala could be another new discovery, and potentially at that sort of scale of system, another company maker for Tarrina, but it's not getting the love at the moment.
Yeah, God, are you open to getting rid of any of these? Or are you going to keep a hold of them?
I wouldn't say get rid, but certainly joint venturing and things. Like we are having discussions with people, particularly Christmas gift, because obviously there's enough companies in that area who have got plants who need feed. And Christmas gift is an obvious one.
And you wouldn't, the cash wouldn't go astray to put into exploration at Walparuta. So,
no, exactly, precisely.
Yeah. Right, mate. That's thanks for that, Greg. That was that's very I'm always thinking, oh Jesus Christ, am I getting sucked in here? But that's pretty compelling geophysical evidence that you've given for, potentially a copper gold discovery. So
we wouldn't drill it without having de-risked it by doing the geology right, to be honest. Yeah. No, good stuff, mate. Righto. Well, I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for the next couple of months and waiting to see when that permit to drill is announced, and you can start poking some holes in this, which I'm sure you're very excited about too. Oh, no, can't wait. We'd love to do it tomorrow, but you can't do that. You've got to get permission to do it. No, not legally anyway. So, Greg, thanks for coming on LEVRD, mate, and good luck is the best way to say it, I reckon. Oh, I don't think we need luck. I think we've done enough work that we're going to hit copper and gold. It's just whether it's high enough grade. Yeah. The luck will be on the grade, I reckon. Yeah, absolutely. Good on you, Greg. Thanks very much, mate. Okay, thank you.